Hey, welcome to the Sunday Sit Down here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app, of course, by way of all of our social media outlets, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, everything above. Candidate for Granville County Sheriff Robert Fountain. How are you, my friend?
Rested.
Good.
Rested.
Good.
Yesterday was a great day. You had a great stage set up, man. It was nice. I saw how people worked with you. I saw how the community came together and had a great showing. I'm good. How are you?
I'm like I said, I wished I was rested, but that you asked me right before you said, "How was that long nap?" I said, "What nap?" But again, reason why we are not on 8 o'clock normally at 8 o'clock. This is on me. I'm over here relaxing and talking, and it's like, wait. We're past 8, so my fault. Again, we are live here on all of our social, of course, on nextdoorradio.com. Candidate for Granville County Sheriff Robert Fountain, and the Sunday sit down every single Sunday beginning at 8 p.m. The Pillars of Criminal Justice. Let's kind of do a small little introduction, if you can, real quick, just kind of for those that are just tuning in for the very first time.
First, before I do anything, we have to remember that 21 years ago, over 3,000 people died. And we have to always have that moment for those lives that were lost, the first responders that are suffering from things that have happened with the ash and their situations. We have to understand that one of the flights probably stopped another war. When those people fought back on that plane, I think it was 53, I'm not sure the exact number, but they gave their lives in sacrifice for us, right? So we always have to remember this solemn day and always reflect upon the goodness and the caring and what people did to save our country and us. So with that being said, I'm Robert Fountain, candidate for Sheriff of Granville County. We've been on the ground for a while now, trying to meet our people like we did yesterday, trying to introduce ourselves to folks who didn't know, answer questions that they did not have answers to, and to be present and be relevant. So we are going to change the culture of law enforcement in Granville County, which means response times, which means staffing, retention, fight for pay, fight for positions, fight for federal funding, fight for educational opportunities. And the past few weeks, what we've been doing is looking at the pillars of criminal justice. And today we're going to focus on education and particularly mine, and training, particularly mine, but how that correlates into how we make the sheriff's office better. What the competent, qualified leadership, training, and education does for officers as they matriculate through their careers from the ground up, right? So that's what we did. So you got a question before I go into it?
Yeah, no, like I said, this is the Sunday Sit Down with candidate for Granville County Sheriff Robert Fountain every single Sunday here on Nextdoor. Let's kind of dive right in. I want to kind of start with the training side. Talk a little bit more about that.
First, my training path was different than most when people look at the body of work, and that's what I call my CV, my curriculum vitae, or resume. It's expansive. So after I left military law enforcement training, from the training component, I attended first line supervision. I attended DCI operators training, narcotics identification classes, what they call NIC. We did, became a scout sniper, along with the SWAT team, the special response team training in the military, NATO operations training. From the standpoint of educational, we went to first line supervision. They call it NCO school in the military.
Yeah.
So you went to the non-commissioned officers training to where you learned how to lead groups of people. And when people talk about leadership and learning and training, when you can lead 50 or 60 Marines and you can supervise a platoon or a squad, that's a small snippet of some of the leadership skills that you have. Because again, you manage your training and all that stuff. So after I got out, the training went from being a correctional officer, basic training officer. That's where I got my foot into law enforcement to get understand that one of the other facets of law enforcement. So as the basic training for a correctional officer, excelled in that down in Salemburg, North Carolina. I went there twice. Uh, and then from that, we did became a general instructor, and not just a general instructor. After I went through and matriculated, I was a firearms instructor, Bushmaster patrol rifle instructor, Remington 870 shotgun, chemical munitions, impact munitions, stinger grenades, electronic mobilization devices, use of force training. Man,
Yeah. That's a lot.
no, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
Then we went through the again DCI training, went through the process of learning how to interview and training skills. You have to go through certain things just to interview people as part of leadership. You just can't go and be somebody on an interview team unless you went through those training platforms. Cell phone detection. It, I can't give away some of the stuff that we've done with law enforcement, but I did train U.S. Marshals, tactical operations, FBI task force teams. We trained those guys in building entries, building clearings, patrol rifle, shove, shoot, and retreat drills for law enforcement, shooting for moving vehicles, occupied dwellings. We did those training scenarios. I did every training facet in law enforcement except unarmed self-defense because I don't like to fall down. I hate it. I don't like fighting. I fight standing up.
Yeah.
If I have to, if I get on the ground, I know what I need to do. But I don't want to fall down. They call it break fall. I didn't want to do 1,000 break falls. I said, nah,
Makes
I'll pass
sense.
on that one.
Yeah.
You know? Expandable baton, collapsible batons, rigid batons. I'm trying to think. Even to the point where disarming people. When I tell officers sometimes the way they wear their weapons, and I used to laugh about level 2 holsters made by Safariland. And they were like, why do you say that? I said, because you have to understand people with my thought processes who's been in the military and what we had to encounter and what we thought about when we went to SEER school, escape evade training, that we had to learn to disarm law enforcement people or people trying to hold you. And it was just a little fluke where I knew how I could take a weapon from somebody and shoot with my pinky. Right? So I could disarm you because of the way your holster was positioned. I could take your weapon out of your holster and use it against you with my pinky.
Yeah.
So certain things we had to go through, and we trained and we taught each other. But the training kept going. And to this day, I still learn. I just went to I went and sat with a opioid training platform instructor because we want to make sure that we stay current and abreast of trends and things that we need to. So when we start talking about mental health, I go to mental health classes. I went to a MAT training, methadone addiction treatment, that we have to understand before you try to implement something in a jail or process. You have to understand things you're going to bring to the platform. So I continuously push myself to learn more with everything else we do, from the business, from my private businesses, my security operations management, the private investigative company I'm a partner with. We do more. We always try to get better. We always try to refine things and all the things that we can bring to the table for the Granville County Sheriff's Office. So if you have investigators and they need more training, how do you go from cell phone extraction, cell phone dumps, and those electronic things? How do you look at accident and rooms? They have a camera system, a Faro camera system. Only one deputy knows how to use a camera system. So what did I do? When I found out the system was there, I started doing my homework. So when we have to do crime scene reconstructions, I have a working knowledge of things, of how to use equipment that Sheriff's Office already has in place, right? So the next thing we looked at is fingerprint identification, that we can have mobile in vehicles. So you can live scan fingerprints with a system that the FBI and the DEA and U.S. Marshal Services use now versus having to take somebody downtown to verify who they are, right? So there are a lot of things that we've done, a lot of training platforms that I've always tried to stay abreast and current with. That makes me a little different than most folks. My wife is like, turn that off. Of course, all the gang training that I took, as well as I teach nationally. So when I need to pick the phone up, And I can call somebody in the state of North Carolina. However, gangs don't stop at the state line or the county line, right? Terrorist organizations don't stop at the state lines, right? They travel. So I've trained from Boise, Idaho to Bangor, Wisconsin to down in the Keys, down in Louisiana, all over this great country. So the relationships that I have and my training platforms that I've created and helped others create, the training that I do for other sheriff's offices and law enforcement agencies and federal prisons and state prisons training, it's unparalleled to a lot of people, right? So that's the training. And I always say that I keep myself up. Even now I go shoot. I shoot on a constant basis because I want to be better. I want to be able to go and train with the guys that I'm a supervise to challenge them to be better. And this is going to blow your mind. A 9mm pistol, maximum effective range, they say, is 25 yards, right? So most time that's what we shoot pistol courses, 25 yards. So the team that I was with, I trained with, I wasn't a part of the team, so make that clear. These guys, we had a couple guys that could hit metal targets at 100 yards with a pistol.
Huh.
I kind of tapped out around 40.
You ain't kidding. Yeah, that sounds like me.
But a pistol, these guys were that good. We trained together. Like a guy from Delta Force was one of the guys that trained us with the patrol rifle, Bushmaster, the ARs. And I think that was one of the best things that I ever did, to train with an AR-15, to know what it does, what it's made for. And we're blessed to be in that capacity to do those things that I can transition.
Absolutely.
Things that I have done to the officers that I will supervise.
And I'll kind of extend that a little bit again. Candidate for Granville County Sheriff Robert Fallon joins us here for the Sunday sit down every single Sunday right here on Next Door Radio beginning at 8 p.m. All that training, I mean, you mentioned one thing after another, and the facet of what you went through, the traveling, every little facet of it, that really brings to a good light to bringing to the Granville County Sheriff. Is that correct?
Yes.
How does that kind of, all that training, what can we expect once, for example, you have the opportunity to become Granville County Sheriff?
We have to start incorporating small things like less than lethal. How do we train people in less than lethal? So when you have a deputy or a supervisor that is able to have a tool bag that they can pull resources from, drug overdose to Narcan systems, how to effectively know what you're dealing with when you have somebody that may have overdosed on the side of the street. You have to look at the sternum rubs and how those things are, our guys need to be better trained. So when we start talking about defensive driving, and when we start looking at how we can do pursuit training with everybody, not just a few selected people, when we utilize K9s in the capacity, not just for drugs, because people have inside jails, they smuggle cell phones in. So when we have K9s that have cell phone capabilities that they can detect cell phones inside a person, then we will bring different things to the agency. So when you're talking about people knowing how to escalate or de-escalate as part of how to be a confrontational avoidance versus a lot of times officers will get to this thing where, and I watch a lot of stuff because, again, I want to learn. I watch videos where officers think that the badge makes them bigger than really who they are, right? So we want to train people that we have this tool bag, but in that tool bag, there's de-escalation. And in that tool bag is you're a servant of the community. How do you talk to people? And I saw those things, and I've seen those things, how they grow into where it becomes a confrontation. When you have to learn how to be a servant first, have some decent humility. God has a thing that he wants us to do. 3 things. He wants us to be serve justice, to be just. He wants us to, I think it's Micah 6. He wants us to be humble and walk humbly with him. So we have to look at this thing differently. We have to educate our deputies on how to be humble, how to serve justice to everyone equally. And if you treat people with decency and respect. They don't have to respect your badge, but have them respect you as a person once you go into their communities and work with them and see them and be a servant to the communities and be there doing those things, then that respect comes back. So once we restore the public's trust in the sheriff's agency by being in the communities, by having, and I tell people when somebody said something about my, this thought process of having a transition team, right? Mm-hmm. We've had 3 sheriffs in 3 years. If someone thinks that going into the sheriff's office and they can do it alone, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Because you have to be your people, not people that work for me, but retired, the president. All right, let's use the president of the United States. Or let's use the governor. Mm-hmm. There are so many other different disciplines that the governor has to focus on, the president has to focus on. They have a transition team to help them, right? So if we don't know, there's never been a chain of command audit. There's never been a command audit, change of command audit in the sheriff's office, right? They don't know where the equipment is. They don't know where some things are located. So how do you think the people who may have things that they shouldn't mm-hmm. have that have not been properly tracked, how are they then going to be the same ones to audit themselves? You think that you're going to audit, if I don't suppose to have some equipment or I got too much and somebody didn't have me sign for it, am I going to tell you I got it when you don't know I have it?
Yeah.
So you have to find a way
That's a good point.
to be clean and start fresh. So when I say things like this is what the training has given me, the training has given me the ability to understand I can't do it by myself. And that, I think, again, you're the figurehead. You're the leader, make the decisions. So having a competent person that's been trained to do those things, because I've been in fixed asset reports, mm-hmm. knowing where training and equipment's supposed to be, knowing what's signed, having people categorize all the inventory, but the sheriff can't do it by himself. Mm-hmm. And the people that are there, you can trust them, but you got to know who's there before you can trust them. Mm-hmm. So it's a different kind of thing that we bring training-wise. So, okay, we'll move on from training. It's a lot. It's a lot.
The Sunday sit down here on Next Door Radio with candidate for Granville County Sheriff Robert Fountain. Now, the education side. It's a big bubble when it comes to education. That's a big topic as well.
I will say this. And I challenge all the deputies to make sure that they are educationally sound, because as we as laymen in the business and as we enter the business of law enforcement, a lot of guys don't have degrees and not looking 20 years down the road. They're not looking 5 years down the road. They're excited about getting into law enforcement, but here's the challenge, and here's where I had to learn from my leaders that I stood on the shoulders of, right? I learned that you have to push yourself to become educated about every facet of law enforcement. So as a deputy, as a military policeman, as anything, you have to do better. You have to get better. That comes through education. Then comes the training. So high school diploma is a qualification to be a sheriff, a deputy. Actually, a high school diploma is pretty much the requirement to be the sheriff, right? 21. So we went through those training things, the qualifications to be sheriff. But how do you become an effective leader? You have to be educated to be an effective leader, right? You have to know different disciplines of every facet of law enforcement. So what I did was I started going to college when I was right out of high school. Wasn't disciplined. Needed structure. That's where the Marine Corps came in. So in the Marine Corps, I started taking those NCO courses and the courses that were required for promotional opportunities. So I took those classes. I educated myself and kept my finger on the pulse of what was going on. When I became a correctional officer, I knew where I wanted to go later. So I took classes when I was a correctional officer to get better, college courses, online courses, training platforms, to where I decided as a dad, as a business owner, as a correctional officer, I knew I had to lead by example. So I went to college and started working on my degree. So being a full-time job, being things that was going to make me better, to lead organizations, I attained my degree in criminal justice. But past that, everything that's out there that we have to look at, that's where the education comes from. You have to stay current. You have to read briefs. You have to look at things. I looked at the Department of Justice has a new platform that they were looking at. I'm not going to tell because somebody else may take it. I'm looking at something with the Department of Justice training platform that will keep me abreast of things. So just like I said with the methadone addiction treatment platforms, that's part of education. Mm-hmm. So how can you say I want to lead an organization, but I'm not committed to educating myself about those things that help me lead this organization? I want to make sure that I build deputies to be the next sheriff. Every one of them have the capacity to be the next guy, the next captain, the next jail administrator, the next court bailiff, head of that divisions that we're going to change. And that's what we want to do. But I want to make sure that the county offers and works with the community college to do tuition reimbursement for these individuals to get their degrees, and they have those opportunities. So that makes them a better qualified individual. And we will challenge them to do those things. Because at the end of the day, if you are looking to stay in this business 30 years, because that's what it normally rounds out to be, then you're going to have to be the leader. You're going to have to not just stay as a deputy for your whole career and hope and pray that somebody might do something for you. You have to be competent, qualified, and have the resumes and have the training and skill sets. And that's what we've done. We've built a body of work to make us stand out above others. And that's where I think we excel. I try to educate myself, and I want my deputies and team to be educated as well. I want them to when the press, the public comes to a deputy, tell me what you've done. What is your body of work? Well, I went to BLET, but no, what is your body of work? Where's your education qualifications? I want to make sure I line these guys up for the next federal job, the next police job they do.
Not just for right now,
not
but
just
for
now.
later. I love that.
I'm thinking about their futures. While I've been there, done that, I want to fix the sheriff's office, leave it in a better position, have more competent and qualified people that are currently there, and bring in others. But I want to turn it over to the next sheriff and say, hey, here's a body of work that you will be proud of, and we did. And the community in itself will say, this guy did what he said. He gave it to where it needed to be, and he went on about his business. My wife have told me that. That's what she tells everybody. So that it's out there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We will leave it better than we found it. More competent, more qualified, and every deputy will be proud of what we're going to do. The ones that are leaving, I spoke to some guys that are leaving and young ladies that may be leaving, and I wish them well. And I wanted them to understand, and I will do it publicly. I wish them well. I want them to come back because, the heart is where the home is. So I want these deputies that may leave or have left, come back. Mm-hmm. We need you. We need you. And I promise you, I will respect each of you and hold you accountable, but I'll work side by side for you. So that's what we're going to do.
Fantastic. Robert Fallon, candidate for Granville County Sheriff, here in the Sunday Sit Down every single Sunday beginning at 8 p.m., talking about the pillars of criminal justice here on Next Door. Of course, we'd like to finish these the last segment, and I give you 2 minutes to 2 minutes to finish off the open floor, open plan, anything that we want to make sure we discuss before we end tonight.
No, I just want to continue to tell people, look, do your body of work. Look at us. Challenge the people that are running for the highest offices in this agency, the highest law enforcement official in our communities. It's good to be a good guy. All of us are inherently good people. But at times like this, at a moment like this, we need more than just a good guy. We need more than just I've been there, I've done that. We need forward thinking. We need progression. We need to understand that the community's safety is at risk, and we need to have somebody that doesn't mind working to unify everybody. We don't care who you are. We don't care what party affiliation you're with. We want to do justice. We want to make our community safer, and we want to be the catalyst to make people want to come back and want to join Granville County Sheriff's Office as we move it into the next generation. This week we're going to be at Creedmoor Music Festival. Hope to see Next Door Radio with Trey Snide in the place. And anyone that sees me down there this weekend, make sure you ride past the billboards that we have down there now, beside True Soul and Dollar General. That's the first time that I've seen my face that big. I got a big head, but that's
back in my heyday, there was a billboard back in Myrtle Beach. I could tell you about that later another time. That's right.
So other than that, man, I want to thank my team, my family. I surround myself with pastors. They who I look to, my faith-based community shapes my platform. They stay with me and work with me and challenge me to do the right thing. And then the retired law enforcement people that are always in my ear giving me information. Out-of-state individuals. Just talked to a gang coordinator from the state of Georgia, and he's shaping some stuff for me. So, yeah, I got people always trying to make me better. Thank you, Next Door Radio. Thank you, my team. Thank you, Granville County. I look forward to more opportunities to meet more people. And we love what we do. Thanks, Trey.
Oh, absolutely. Again, I say it off air, and I'll say it on you are a true man of God, and I do appreciate that, especially for somebody looking to run for a higher office. So I appreciate that very much. Again, my name is Trace Nye with Next Door Radio. He is Robert Fallon, candidate for Granville County Sheriff. This is the Sunday Sit Down, every single Sunday here on Next Door Radio, nextdoorradio.com, Next Door Radio app. God bless you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.